Hi, this is Alessio. Hope you're well, and welcome to this brand new update on Bitcoin. In this video, we're going to ask a very important and interesting question, which is how likely is it for Bitcoin to drop back down to 3K or 3,000 again? So we're going to ask the question, how probable or likely is it for Bitcoin to play out this scenario that you're seeing here, what's called the bearish B wave or the C wave scenario? By the way, I mentioned this particular scenario a long time ago, you may remember, way before most people are now talking about it. Suddenly everyone is now talking about this scenario, even though we mentioned this in our video many months ago. The scenario is simply this, that the rally we saw in the last few months from most of 2019 has been a B wave counter trend rally, and that perhaps we could see a move down towards 3K or 2K in the next few months, potentially going to 2020. By the way, guys, just be clear, we are not saying right now that this is definitely a scenario that's going to play out. What we're asking in this video is how likely is it that this scenario could play out? Because there is another scenario you probably know about. I mentioned this before. There's also the wild card bullish scenario that could play out in the next few months. And I mentioned this before in previous videos, so you can go ahead and watch that. Okay, now before we come into this, the reason I thought about making this video was this, because just recently there was an interesting article on TradingView where suddenly everybody is now talking about, oh, 3K now. Here's an interesting, here was the title of this recent article on TradingView. Warning signs point to a 3K retest. So we'll come to this point in a few moments, guys. I'll talk to you about this in a few moments, but it's quite interesting. By the way, guys, before I continue, let me first of all thank you so much for your great comments and feedback on my previous video. So on my last video on Bitcoin, I received tons and tons of great comments and positive feedback. So thank you so much indeed for your fantastic comments, and I've really enjoyed reading them. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. By the way, one of my favorite comments was from a month ago. 1 month ago, there was a fellow who wrote a comment on my video, and he said this from Dupino. He said, first I subbed, thank you. And he says, I clicked the notification bell, thank you very much indeed. And he says, I took a big fat short 10 times at 10,500. Then I watched this stuff and I'm going to stick. And he says, if your unexpected scenario plays out, I'll send you a tip. By the way, this particular video he's talking about is a video I posted about a few weeks ago about the wild card scenario. I think it was the first video I put out about the potentially bearish scenario down to 8,000, 7,000. So the wild card potential scenario. So and what he's saying is that he took a short at 10,500 10 times, by the way, and he said he'll send me a tip if it works out. So Dupino, if you're watching this video, I look forward to receiving your tip. I am, of course, joking. No, by all means, keep your money. That's fine. Well done to you on your trade. You deserve all the credit. By the way, I received a comment on my last video, and there was a lady, I think a doctor, who said that she disagreed with me, that most of the articles online have been bearish. She says it's been 50-50, 50% bullish, 50% bearish. I would respectfully disagree with that because, you see, guys, I don't just look at the articles. I also look at the comments on social media. So, for example, let me tell you, the most common kind of comment, the most frequent comment I received on my videos and probably on most of the social media has been something like this. Let me just read this out to you. By the way, I blacked out the names because I don't want to be nasty. I don't want to embarrass anybody here. But here's one comment. In your dreams, only we're going to see 8K ever again. Come on, man. Basically, you say everything is possible. Bulls will not be shaken out in the beginning of a bull market. By the way, here's how Bitcoin responded to this comment. Guys, whenever you see anybody putting out some kind of confident, overconfident comment like that, saying, oh, you'll never see 8K ever again, and that bulls will not be shaken out, that is telling you that people are becoming extremely over bullish. Here's another one for you. This person says, scenario 4 is the real wild card. By the way, there was no scenario number 4. They're just making this up. There was no scenario 4. And he's saying everyone is bearish short term. What about the scenario nothing bearish will happen, okay, from this point? And he says, so no 8,500, but 17,000. By the way, here's how Bitcoin responded to this comment.
Oh, I shouldn't have had that burrito, bro.
Again, guys, very overconfident, overly bullish kind of comments like this is usually a red flag. So you see, guys, just a few weeks ago, I mean, this is an article from September 15th, and this article writer was saying, look at the title, BTC is in a massive bull flag, and history suggests an upside break. All right, so they're saying, boom, we're going to go massively higher. Now, as you know from my previous videos, I've always said, and I've made it very clear, that I think an upside breakout is unlikely, highly unlikely, until we get a correction, until we see a move down to 8,000 at a minimum. So that's one thing. And here's another article for you, again, from the same writer. Bitcoin clears the 50 EMA, and plus a huge NVT signal. Don't miss, again, looking for an upside breakout higher. So that was in August 4th when that article was published. By the way, the same article writer is now saying the exact opposite. Warning signs to a 3K retest. All right, so the same article writers that were extremely bullish just a few weeks ago or months ago are now extremely bearish, calling for a 3K retest. By the way, I'm not mentioning any of this, guys, to embarrass the person who wrote this. I'm sure whoever wrote these articles I'm sure they're a very intelligent and smart person. And by the way, let me make it very clear, I've got wrong calls too. I've made plenty of calls in my lifetime where I got things wrong. And I have owned up to those wrong calls in my videos. The fact is this, guys, what I'm trying to point out in this video is this. Take a look at this chart, and it's really important. You see, guys, this is called a sentiment cycle. The sentiment cycle is a very important chart. I highly recommend, guys, that you keep this in mind. Whenever price goes into a parabolic rise, whenever price goes massively higher, you want to look for signs of euphoria, which is exactly what we saw as Bitcoin was hitting 13, 14,000, all right? So euphoria, thrill, okay, that's what we saw back then. At this point, and by the way, not just at that point, but pretty much even when Bitcoin was at 11 and 10,000, you saw the exact same thing. Euphoria with anxiety and denial, all right? So in other words, guys, for the last few weeks and the last few months, all we've seen is euphoria followed by anxiety, by denial. In this stage, which is the stage we've been in for the last few weeks and last few months, in this stage, anybody who puts out a video or an article that says the opposite of the consensus, the opposite of what everyone thinks, will get ridiculed. So at this point, whenever I put out a video, so you saw in my videos, I said, look, we should wait for a pullback. We should wait for a drop back down to lower levels like 8,000, 7,000. I got ridiculed. Everyone said I was wrong. No, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. All right. So that's what happens in this stage: euphoria, anxiety, denial. Pretty much, you get ridiculed if you have the opposite point of view from the herd. But guess what, guys? When Bitcoin dropped just recently, we're now going into the next stage, what's called the fear, depression, and panic stage. I believe this is the stage we're in right now. Fear, depression, panic. You might say, well, maybe not. We're not in panic stage yet. You might be right. But bottom line is, I think this is the stage we're in right now. I think very soon we're going to get into the next stage, capitulation stage, or maybe the panic stage, one of these two. Bottom line is this, guys. I think that if Bitcoin continues to push lower, we're going to see articles online saying the exact opposite of what they were saying just a few months ago. Saying, oh, no, wait a second. We're going to go massively lower to 3,000. We're going to go to 2,000. Oh, it's over. Bitcoin is going to go to zero. So, guys, just wait for it. Right now, Bitcoin is trading about 7,900. If Bitcoin continues to push lower, which I think is quite likely, I think you're going to see more and more very intense, bearish kind of articles and YouTube videos and comments. You're going to see people saying, oh, it's over for Bitcoin. It's going to go massively lower to 3K, 2K, 1K, all that kind of stuff. You will see also loads of articles saying it's over for Bitcoin. You know what, guys? That's when you know you're in this stage, okay? Panic, capitulation, despondency, giving up stage, okay? I don't believe we're in this stage just yet. I think you'll agree with me. We're not in this stage yet. And that's when you're going to know we're probably reaching some kind of a bottom or turning point in Bitcoin. And that's when you're going to find that potential next wave up, the wave 3 potentially, the next wave higher. So bottom line is this, guys. I don't think we're in this stage just yet, but just wait for it. We're going to get there very soon, all right? Potentially in the next few weeks. And by the way, guys, one more thing I want to mention here. In this stage, if I put out a single video that says the opposite to what everybody else is thinking, if I put a bullish video on Bitcoin, I will get ridiculed. You'll see it pretty soon. All right, guys, let's go now to the chart of Bitcoin, and I want to just talk about this. So the question we're asking in this video is this, which is, how likely is it that Bitcoin could potentially go to 3,000? All right, now, again, I'm not saying that a move to 3,000 at the moment is likely. I don't see any evidence of that just yet, but let me show you in this video what I think needs to happen for us to see a high probability that Bitcoin could move to 3,000, maybe even to 2,000. In other words, what needs to happen on Bitcoin for us to see a move down to 2,000 or 3,000, the prior lows in December of last year. Okay, let me also just mention this before I come back to this chart. Let's just switch to a weekly chart of Bitcoin. Something I mentioned in the previous video, and I mentioned this before as well, which is that Bitcoin at the moment is below the 21 weekly moving average. That is important. That is not a small thing. It's a big deal. Because as long as Bitcoin remains below the blue line, the 21 weekly average, bears or sellers have control. At the moment, because we're below the 21 weekly, bears have control of this market, of Bitcoin. All right, so we've got to be careful here and not try to, catch a falling knife. So bottom line is, let's go back to this chart. The question we're going to ask is, what needs to happen for us to see this scenario play out? The B wave and the C wave scenario down to 3K and 2K. Okay, what needs to happen is this. Let me just go back to the daily chart. What you can do is something very simple. Just keep it simple, guys, all right? On your chart, for example, on TradingView, get a tool called Fibonacci Retracement. And I believe it's right here. There it is. Fib Retracement. There it is. Grab that. And what you want to do is draw the retracement tool from the lows we made back in, again, December of last year, all the way to the top we made in June of this year. So bottom line is, guys, you can see that we've got this level we want to keep an eye on here, right there. The 78.6% retracement. That level there, 5433. I would say, look, let's just keep it simple. Let's just make it 5,000, shall we? All right, so this level here, between 5,433 to 5,000. Why is that level important? Because if Bitcoin, it's an if. At the moment, I'm not giving this a very high probability. I would say it's about a 30% probability. But if Bitcoin were to drop below that support, then the odds of a Bitcoin move to 3,000 will massively increase. So let me just repeat that. If Bitcoin moves below 5,433, in other words, that's Fibonacci level. If it moves below 5,000, that's how we can know that there's a high probability Bitcoin could move down to 3,000 again. By the way, let me just mention this. There are some very silly people out there who think that because we're saying if Bitcoin moves below that level, that we're not making a commitment, that somehow we as professional traders and chartists, we have to make a commitment right now that yes, definitely Bitcoin is going to go down to 3,000. That is ridiculous. I don't know who thinks like that, but I do get these comments every now and then from very silly and immature people who say that, oh, Alessio, you should make a commitment right now. Instead of saying if, make a commitment right now and say Bitcoin is going to go to 3,000. No, because we don't have a crystal ball, guys. There is absolutely no certainty whatsoever of anything happening in the market. There are only probabilities. That's all we have. I'm saying in this video right now that the probabilities of a move to 3,000 or 2,000 will only increase if we take out 5,000. I would say more than that. Actually, I will go further. I would say the probabilities will probably increase to 80% if we take out that high right there. Do you see this high right here? I think that's 4,500. I think it's more or less 4,000. Yeah, I think it's 4,200 or 4,500, that level there. If that happens, then yes. In other words, if we see a break of two levels, 5,000 and then 4,500, then yes, the probabilities could massively increase. In other words, probably about 85 to 90% probability a move to 3,000 or even 2,000. In other words, the B wave scenario will become very likely. But until that happens, for me, the wildcard scenario has the higher probability at the moment. For me, the wildcard scenario at the moment has a slightly higher probability. I would say about 55 to 60% probability. But I would say also that the wildcard scenario has yet to be confirmed. And we'll mention this in future video updates. All right, guys, before I finish the video, I just want to say thank you very much for having watched the video as long as you have until now, all the way to the end. And also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And also, please subscribe. And also, please remember to hit the bell icon as well. That's really important. Please hit the bell icon so you don't miss our future video updates too. Thanks very much indeed. I'll see you guys in the next video update. Bye for now.